Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here from my dilapidated yet slightly renovated garage. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Great to have you guys here, and I'm joined on this Monday. Oh, well, actually, he's making his return now. The one and the only Christian Harloff is here, ladies and gentlemen. Christian, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. Yes, I'm still getting over that jet lag, but it's getting better.
Yeah, the flight is real. The jet lag is real. That's why I'm going to be driving it next week, but I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Also joining us, of course, is our technical producer, Jonathan Voico. How you doing, Jonathan?
I'm all right, considering it's Monday. Hello, everybody.
And, of course, most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show a part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show is when we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you guys have a thought, theory, opinion, or question you'd like to send in, as long as I deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, and I'm going to let you know they're just about full, so I'm only going to leave the super chats open for a few more minutes. Go ahead and use the super chat feature and fire them in there, and we'll get around to those in the second part of the show. Also, going to let you guys know this. We're starting the next leg of the movie meetup tour. We have just announced that starting in a couple of weeks, we're going to do 5 cities. We are going to do Nashville, Pittsburgh, Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, and St. Louis, Missouri. So we're going to be doing those 5 cities. And I believe the first one is going to be Nashville on, I believe, Thursday, the 3rd of September. I'll put out the exact dates pretty soon here for that. But those 5 cities are going to be the next 5 stops that we make on the movie meetup tour. So keep your eyes open and start getting your schedules ready. All right. With that all down, guys, let's get things going here, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. You know, Denis Villeneuve, of course, is known as one of the top one, maybe the top one, certainly in the top 2 or 3 best directors in the world right now. And a lot of people got put on their map with Sicario. Well, Josh Brolin just came out and said that Sicario 3 is actually going to be happening. This is what the folks over at Deadline had to say. They said, after nearly a decade, CIA officer Matt Graver is still waging his war against Mexican drug cartels in Taylor Sheridan's Sicario cinematic universe. Josh Brolin, who starred as Matt Graver in Sicario 2015 and Sicario Day of the Soldado 2018, recently revealed that a 3rd installment in the Sheridan-penned action thriller franchise is happening in the near future. All right. Couple things that should be sort of mentioned here. Number 1 is that this is not an official green light announcement. I mean, just because an actor says, yeah, we're putting this together, don't forget at some point, a studio actually, the people paying for it to happen at some point have to say, yes, go ahead and do it. And right now we don't have an official green light on that, but Josh Brolin has said they're rolling ahead and doing it. Now I have 2 different thoughts about it. Number 1, while I did not love Day of the Soldado, I'm going to admit, I didn't love that one. I do love Sicario. So I'll be down for them taking a 3rd swing at it. I totally will be. But my second thought kind of is a surprise, because regardless of how well and how fondly we remember the Sicario movies, the reality is they didn't do much at the box office. Like the first Sicario made $46 million domestically, made $84 million worldwide. 84. And then Sicario Day of the Soldado, the follow-up, made less. Made $75 million. Remember, guys, we're not talking about opening weekend. We're not talking about domestic. We're talking worldwide grand total, 84.9 million and 75 million respectively. So, you know, guys, I am absolutely all for seeing another Sicario movie. But I do have to admit, I'd be kind of surprised if a studio actually says they're going to give it a green light, because I don't know that I see the financial model for it. And I don't know how you can go into a boardroom and make the pitch that this will be profitable for the studio, because the other ones, I believe the budget of the first one was 30 million. And I think the budget of the second one was only 35, but can you do that with the third one? Who do you get to direct it? I don't know. So Christian, I guess a couple of questions for you would be, do you think this is a good idea to do another Sicario movie? And what do you think the chances are that it actually does happen?
So many variables that go into that question, though, right? Because you got the first side of it is, Josh Brolin's been talking about Sicario 3 for quite a bit. I don't know if this is true or not, but my guess is he's probably a producer of it. So he's probably going to say after third movie, he's probably going to be a producer and get a producer credit. So he's like, we're making it happen. Now the question is going to be, who are they going to get on board? Because the stock in Sheridan has risen dramatically since 2018.
Yeah.
So that's probably the selling point for what they're doing. Now, who's the studio that's doing it, John? Is it Paramount?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody's picked it up. I don't know.
Well,
I can't remember who originally.
Yeah,
the original first two. I want to say Universal, but you could be right, Jonathan. Maybe you could look.
Lionsgate.
It's Lionsgate.
It was Lionsgate. So we were both wrong.
So, no, I didn't know. I wasn't sure because if it was Paramount, I said, well, then they got problems because he's not getting along with Paramount right now, Sheridan.
Yeah.
But if they're going to Lionsgate and they do that and they can find a way to do it, and my other, which by it being Lionsgate kind of gets rid of my other point. My thing was that because you said, why would they make that if they didn't have, if it was only $30 million budget and they're only making like 70 on this one, why would they do this? My answer would be, well, we're in a different age now. And if we're going off of Taylor Sheridan's and his streaming stuff, that is probably going to perform pretty well on streaming as well. So if they can get that $70 million back in the bank and do it and get a little bit more and make it kind of like a TV streaming movie too, but I don't know where Lionsgate would take it ultimately unless they used to sell it to Netflix or something. And
it could be a different because Sony picked up the second one.
Oh, maybe. Okay. So maybe, but it's still where they're going to stream it. I don't know. But either way, you can see with some of the movies that get greenlit today and certain things that are getting put out there and like, why didn't they just go to streaming anyway? Like that romantic comedy that just came out recently. I was like, why did they put that in the theaters? This is worth taking a shot on. I think it's an alternate program. I wouldn't go past that $25-30 million budget. If you go past that, that's pretty stupid. But the major factor is if they can get Denis to come back and do it after what we think will be big success with Dune 3, then there's a definite reason why you would do it. But he's doing Bond.
He's got that's the point though, right? Like as soon as Dune has its red carpet premiere, he's rolling into the 007 offices, and then he's going to be working on Bond for the next 2+ years.
Sure, but John, if you're whatever studio is, and Denis says, listen, I'll do it, but I won't be able to do it for 2 more years after Bond or 3 more years. You go, okay, we'll wait for you because it's like we've already waited since 2018. What's another 3 years? The drug war isn't going anywhere.
That's also a few more tax brackets.
Yeah. It's and because like Denis isn't the same guy. Like you mentioned, Taylor Sheridan is a much bigger name now than he was then. Denis is clearly and he might have an Oscar on his mantle by the time this rolls around. So like, how can you convince a Denis Villeneuve, hey, come back to this franchise that made $80 million?
Right. You gotta be passionate for it.
And his paycheck alone would probably make up half the budget at this point. So I mean,
how tight are he and Brolin? That's the question.
I'd be down for it. Because you're right. I mean, Brolin is working with him right now in Dune. Maybe he'll be the new M. Maybe Josh Brolin will put on the British accent and be the new M in James Bond.
Yeah, but think about that, John. If he's shooting Dune 3 right now and he's having those conversations and he's been talking about Sicario 3 as long. You don't think if he really wants this to happen, he didn't bring it up to Denis and then it just happens to be like he starts talking now. He's like, yeah, look, it's happening. Like maybe he did have that conversation and maybe Denis wants to do it.
Sure, but it's one thing for me to ask you if you could buy me lunch. Hey, we're hanging out. Hey, can you buy me lunch?
Right.
Versus, hey, can I get your next 2 years locked up, please?
Yeah. I forgot that totally. Roger Deakins also shot that first one.
Oh, yes, sure did.
Yep.
And then I wonder, would Denis be okay with going back to digital? Because there's no way they're going to do that on film. That's a different budget.
Yeah, I don't think Denis is going to get obsessed with it.
Yeah, no, I think the chances of getting him are something none. I'm just saying if you just to answer your question earlier though, like why would they do it? If you get him, you make it.
It would be prestige for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. If somehow in some parallel universe, if you can get Denis Villeneuve to agree to come and direct it, then a studio will sit up and go, okay, let's do this then, because then you're also going to attract a lot of talent.
Sure.
So
well, it's also what you said before though. The difference between 1 and 2. 2's fine. 1 is special.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. One,
Yeah.
and that ending. Oh my God, that ending.
The best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Josh Brolin is saying, we're going to do Sicario 3. I mean, he's not the one writing the checks for it, so we'll have to hear somebody who will step up and say that. Under what circumstances do you see it actually happening? Would you be interested in it? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, Spider-Man is, at least Brand New Day, is racing now towards becoming the 3rd highest grossing film in history. Now, whether it can get to number 2 or number 1, that remains to be seen, but it has made all the money. We've been talking about it for weeks now, just about how impressive it's been. The official number right now, although it's actually higher than this, the numbers haven't updated yet, but officially as of this moment, the number sits at $2.2 billion. The actuals are a little bit higher than that, but again, those numbers will come in a little bit. And you know, yesterday, I did an open mic, and on the open mic, kind of a topic came up about, you know, what are the things that went into Spider-Man making that much money? And one of the things that I talked about was that, well, you know, the fact that Marvel has kind of been turning things around the last 2 years. Like that big consistency problem we've had for ever since Endgame seems to have been course corrected with quality projects, right? And that has not the reason Spider-Man has been so successful. It would have been really successful anyway, but I said, that's one of the things. So somebody said, you know what you should do? Talk about the 5 reasons why Spider-Man has achieved this ridiculous amount of success. So that's what we're going to do. Now, let me say this before we start jumping into my 5 at any rate. This truly is a situation where it takes a village. You know, it's not just 5 reasons why Spider-Man Brand New Day has already passed $2.2 billion. There's a lot of other ones as well. These are just the 5 that really stand out to me, and while there's more. But before I get into the 5, I have to at least mention one honorable mention that I didn't put on my 5. And I'm kind of doing this in case Rob was here. Rob would have been saying this one too. Is that, while again, none of these are the reason, these are all just contributing things. I think part of it is that Zendaya and Tom Holland as a couple have become America's sweethearts. They've just become America's sweethearts. They are TMZ fodder. They are everything. Like, everybody just loves them as a couple. And I think their popularity as a couple has kind of gone into helping the movie. But that's an honorable mention. That's an honorable mention. So let's go into my 5 things here. And I'm just going to list all of them very quickly, and then we'll go into each one. So here are the 5, what I think are the 5 primary reasons that Spider-Man's done so well. Number 1, the quality of the previous 3 Spider-Man films. Number 2, Spider-Man may just be globally the most popular superhero. Number 3, again, what I talked about yesterday on Open Mic, the MCU has been showing a return to consistent quality. Number 4, the pure excitement about Doomsday has contributed to it. And number 5, and maybe most importantly, it's just a damn excellent movie. The movie is just fantastic. And that has certainly helped with it a lot. So let me just go through each one of these ones quickly. Number 1, the quality of the 3 previous films. The John Watts films were wonderful. You know, they were, and that was a tall task, guys. It was a tall task they were facing because they were rebooting Spider-Man like for the 3rd time in just a handful of years. We had gone from Toby to Andrew, and now all of a sudden we're rebooting him again. And it was a tall order, and what John Watts was able to do with Far From Home, No Way Home, Homecoming, I just thought was wonderful. I love all 3 of those movies. Now, I do think this one is the best of the Tom Holland movies, but I think the very fact, it's not a coincidence that you saw the box office building as the movies progressed, because every time they put one out, it was just really good. And that absolutely, because if all 3 of those movies were stinkers, we would not be sitting here talking about a Spider-Man Brand New Day being a $2.2 billion film. Like, I don't think anybody on the planet would disagree with that. If those 3 films had all been bad, we would certainly not be sitting here talking about a $2.2 billion brand new day. It just would not be happening. And yet, here we are. It is what's happened. So let's go over to the second one. Spider-Man is probably globally the most popular superhero. I mean, there could be an argument here with Batman as well, which is fair enough. There could be an argument, but there's certainly no doubt that you can feel comfortable saying he is the most, and you're certainly not wrong if you at least say one of the most. And that obviously has gone into not only helping Brand New Day, but of course has also helped the other Spider-Man movies as well. All right. Then we move on to the MCU looking like a return to quality over the last couple of years. And look, we won't relitigate the whole thing we did on open mic last night, but one of the point I made was that since Endgame, up until Endgame, Marvel was always up here. After Endgame, it was hit and miss. Every time you'd have like a great, I don't know, Shang-Chi, you'd then get a Black Widow. For every Guardians of the Galaxy 3 you had an Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. For every WandaVision you had an Avenger, or you had a Secret Invasion, right? It was just so blotched, up and down, absolutely no consistency. And as I always say on this show, we went from, whenever we would go to a Marvel project, we went from expecting it to be excellent, and that got downgraded to whenever we'd go to a Marvel project, we just hoped it would be good. We went from expecting it to be excellent to hoping it would be good. But in the last little while, that has started to change, right? They have done a lot more right. And I'm not necessarily talking box office, because certainly Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four didn't blow it out of the water with box office. But the fact of the matter is, Thunderbolts, I like it more than most people, was a very good movie. Fantastic Four, I didn't like quite as much, but I thought it was a solid, fun film, man. And I went to go see it 2-3 times. Wonder Man was way better than had any business being. I think Daredevil Born Again has been a very, very solid show. You had Deadpool and Wolverine was great. Yeah, we had Captain America, oopsie doopsie 4. Yeah, okay, so that was the one stumble. But overall, they have just really been getting themselves back on track. And I absolutely believe that over the past year and a half or two, the audience has slowly been starting to gain confidence in the MCU again. And I think that has contributed, not the cause, but contributed to Spider-Man's success. Number 4, you're sticking your head in the sand if you don't think the overall excitement about Doomsday also contributed. As do I believe the excellence of Spider-Man is going to contribute to the success of Doomsday as well. It's a symbiotic relationship. But yeah. I absolutely believe, there you go. Absolutely. Yeah, see what I did there? It's absolutely the big hype and momentum behind Doomsday absolutely played a part. It absolutely played a part. And again, at number 5 for me, it's just an excellent movie. Because look, you could have broken the all-time opening weekend box office record, which it did with 360 million. That's great. If the movie wasn't really good, the momentum then dies. And you don't get to 2.2 billion. But the fact of the matter is, people have been going back repeatedly. People have been telling their other friends they need to go see it. People have been dragging their other friends to go see it. And it's just being an excellent movie is probably the biggest contributor to this. So again, there's more than just this. It's not any one of them, but I think 5 of the big contributing factors here is the quality of the 3 previous films, Spider-Man being globally the most popular character, MCU returning to form, the Doomsday excitement, and Spider-Man 5 Spider-Man Brand New Day just being an excellent, excellent film. So anyway, Christian, you're sitting in your laboratory out there in New York, and you're watching all this unfolding. Spider-Man's closing in on the number 3 spot of all time. What do you see as being the main contributing factors to that?
Well, those top 5 ones that you have in there, I would say, even though you said, it's not just those, it's just part of it. A lot of those top 5 were my top 5. And even when you said at the end there with that's a damn good movie, you mentioned my number 6, which would be the repeat viewing aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because it's just so good and people want to see it, they're going back, and that is going to always add into whether or not you keep crossing over. Are people going back to the theater to watch it, which is not an easy trick to do these days. It's hard enough to get people to go in the theater to see it once, much less twice, three times, and that's this kind of movie. The other thing that added to it was the early inclusion of the IMAX screenings. Because they took out Odyssey a little earlier and added. No, was it the major factor? No, but it's just another reason of adding a little bit more money, because people then said, "Oh, hey, I saw it once and I saw it in Dolby. Now I want to see it in IMAX," and so that happened. The other main reason, which kind of is what you were mentioning, but I think that it should be brought up, is that this movie is an event film, and it's what a lot of things used to be but ceased to be. And instead of just studios putting out big, huge movies just for the sake of it, this felt special, as we were saying. And it's because of everything that you had mentioned with the cast chemistry, the fact that everything that they had been through before, that this was essentially a sequel to that big, huge brand, No Way Home. And leading off of that into that, I mean, that's another crucial thing. Yes, the movies all three of those were good, but brand new, I keep saying that, not Brand New Day, but No Way Home was such a big movie. And because you brought all three of the Spider-Mans together, and then there was this cliffhanger of an ending, you're like, where's it going to go? And then because you had so much time in between, it built up the anticipation. You're like, wait a minute, what's happening with this guy? Is it going to be a ground Spider-Man? Is this ground level Spider-Man? Is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? And so that just made it feel more special. And the other thing, which is a smaller factor, but I think still a major thing, you look at all the hype right now out of D23, and the major thing that everybody, when we talked about it on your show during that panel, was who's going to be the X-Men? Who's going to be the X-Men? The X-Men, X-Men. You get the first real introduction of those X-Men in this movie. That's going to be their future moving forward. So that bit of, even though it was the worst kept secret ever, it still was a great marketing tool. And so it helped out. Who's she going to be? And that also plays into, you mentioned before with Zendaya and Tom Holland bringing people in because they're the couple. Let's not forget about Sadie Sink and her youthful audience from Stranger Things and everything.
That's a good point.
By bringing in, it's the reason certain movies, like, we forget we're at a generation where we want to see movies, we want to go and see stuff, but a lot of us are just streaming it from our couch. The goal is to get the young people in the theater. This movie did that.
Yeah. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Spider-Man just continues to keep on rolling. It's heading towards being probably the number 3 all-time box office film. What do you attribute it to? Now, the real answer is that there's dozens of reasons that make up the whole thing, but what are some of the key ones to you? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, sticking on the topic of the MCU, one of the very interesting movies about to come out, I guess, come out of the closet, whatever it is Avengers Endgame is coming back. Only now, this time, it's changed its name. Avengers Endgame is no longer Avengers Endgame. No. Steve is now Larry. Avengers is now Avengers Endgame Encore. And according to the reports, it comes out in September. According to the reports, the tickets are going to go on sale tomorrow. This comes to us from the friends over at Coming Soon, who write this. Marvel Studios is bringing back its biggest blockbuster with a twist that fans won't want to miss. Reports have revealed that when tickets for Avengers Endgame Encore will go on sale ahead of the expected return. Marvel Studios will release Avengers Endgame Encore in theaters next month as an extended cut of the 2019 blockbuster. Additionally, the re-release adds new footage ahead of Avengers Doomsday this December. Tickets went on sale Tuesday, August 25th. That'll be tomorrow. Tickets will go on sale, they should say, Tuesday, August 25th, based on updated theater listings from AMC and Regal. Now, as of right now, I don't think this has been officially confirmed, but what everybody everywhere right now is saying is that these tickets are indeed going on sale tomorrow, which is interesting. Now, I'm not normally a fan of the cash grab re-releases. Like, it's one thing if it's Jurassic Park's 20th anniversary or Close Encounters of the Third Kind, like, that's fine. But
Sure.
Marvel has been guilty in the past of just throwing something back in the theater saying, look, we got these 10 extra seconds. Come give us more money. Like, that's never sat well with me. But they're taking a little bit of a different approach. They're going to have some previously unseen footage in it. Not a ton, but some. But what most people are kind of buzzing about is a new post-credit scene that they say will tie directly into Doomsday, maybe even suggesting somehow that the events of Endgame are kind of what sets up Doomsday to start with, which makes it an interesting viewing experience. And I have to admit, while I've seen Endgame a lot of times at home recently in the last couple of years, I have to admit the idea of going back and watching the damn portal scene on a big movie screen, hopefully with a full theater of people, is pretty damn attractive to me. I kind of like that. But it does bring up the question. These re-releases don't often do tons of money, right? It's usually a pretty modest amount of money. Money nonetheless, but usually a pretty modest number that it brings in. But can it bring in enough to leapfrog over Avatar as the number 1 all-time movie? As you see right now, Avatar sits as the highest grossing film in history at $2.923 billion. Avengers Endgame is currently sitting at $2.799 billion. The difference is $123 million. $123 million. That, guys, is not a given. That's a legit significant amount of money. It's more money than Sicario made at the box office as a brand new film.
Right.
So can they get $123 million worth of people out to actually have it leapfrog over Avatar until, Avatar's 20th anniversary re-release, and it leapfrogs over Avengers again, but we'll deal with one leapfrog at a time. Listen, I would have said a couple of months ago that I think for a re-release, 123 million is too tall of an order. But if we're going to talk about hype, and if we're going to talk about momentum, not only is all the excitement raging up right now for Doomsday and Doomsday, but we're coming now right off the heels of Spider-Man Brand New Day that everybody went to and practically everybody loved. And I'm going to tell you, Christian, I am not nearly as doubtful as I was a couple of months ago that this Avengers Endgame re-release can make 123 million. Look, I still think it's a tall order. It's not a given. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I actually think it has a shot at doing it, even as a re-release that everybody can watch at home on Disney Plus, all for those extra 6 or 7 minutes. I don't know. What do you think about this? Do you think this thing can make enough money as a re-release to take that number 1 spot away from Avatar?
Yes, I do, because I think they're going to make it more so in the marketing as well too, that not that you're going to be lost if you don't see it, but you're going to get rewarded if you do once you see Doomsday. And I think that's going to inspire a lot of people. I think, look, I just told the story, but I was on the plane on the way back from LA, coming back to New York, and there's a lot of movies that I haven't seen. And I started watching one of them and I turned it off and I put on Endgame, and I still plan on watching Endgame. One of the reasons, to be completely honest, is I wanted a 3-hour movie to just kind of, pass time, knew that I enjoyed it. And there you go. I didn't even finish it by the time I got home. However, I still said to myself when I started it, I was like, I'm going to go see this on the re-release. Do I want to see it now? And in my head, I said, well, yeah, because you're going to see things inside of this now when you watch it. Then they're going to add some other things. Because, for example, and someone brought this up to me recently, but like, how did Old Man Cap have that shield when Thanos broke his shield? Right? Are we gonna experience that? We may or may not. What did he do when he went back with Peggy? Like, what caused that riff? That's going to be something that I think is maybe whatever they might add to it at the very end of this thing. Something is going to happen that is going to be that added scene. And if Henry Cavill got a lot of people in the theater to see Black Adam. This post-credit scene or this footage, whatever it might be, to get us into Doomsday, that's gonna get people into the theater, and I think it's gonna be a pretty big number.
I would say not even just the Shield, but the fact that he was Old Man Cap, and then when Falcon says, "Do you want to tell me about it?" He goes, "No." I mean,
right.
That means he went through all of these Doomsday and everything as an old man. I mean, I assume.
I don't think so.
No, that's a different.
You think
version.
he's a different version?
Yeah, it's gonna be a different version. Of that altogether. I like
sorry,
the
Old
way,
Man Cap.
I like the way you put that, Christian, about how, like, I'm paraphrasing you, but is this something you need to see? No. Is this something that you might get something out of it by seeing it? Yes.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of the Vision Apple Pro. Remember the Apple Vision thing, the goggles you put on?
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of my favorite tech YouTubers, MKBHD, he reviewed it, and this is what he said, and it's always stuck with me. He goes, "This is the coolest piece of tech absolutely nobody needs." And that reminds me a little bit of Avengers Endgame Encore. I think this is a really cool thing that nobody needs. Like, we don't need to have this, but I think it's going to be pretty cool to experience it anyway, even though I don't think anybody needs to go see it, but I will.
And just to clarify too, I'm well aware that Black Adam didn't make money, but it would have made less money if Henry Cavill wasn't in it.
100%.
To be clear, it made
100%.
one Black Adam.
Yeah, Black Adam made exactly one Black Adam.
Yeah.
But yes, it would have made even less had they not leaked out there that Henry Cavill was.
They marketed on him and got people in the theater because of him. That's the point there,
I mean,
Charlie.
It would have made less.
In terms of its box office, I'm just looking at its competition that week. There are a lot of movies coming out, but it's like, okay, The Stunt Driver with Ben Foster, that's not really heavily. Heart of the Beast with Brad Pitt does not look great to me, at least. And then you got Your Mother with Mahershala Ali, Victorian Psycho for the horror fans. Obviously, Prime Time. Okay. That might be some competition. And then the biggest is probably Forgotten Island, which is the animated movie.
Right. Which is the best animated film of the year, by the way.
So, but my point is
having not seen Wildwood yet.
So you saw that one?
I've seen it twice.
Oh, wow.
It's so good.
Wow. Okay.
It's so good. Yeah. It's so enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? They're saying the tickets for Avengers Endgame Encore are going to go on sale tomorrow. Are you going to get them? Are you like, nah, I'm good. I'll just wait for Doomsday. Do you think it can make that 123 million, which is not an insignificant number, to actually become the #1 film of all time, taking over the spot from Avatar? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, since we've got Christian here, we thought we would take a little opportunity now to play a game of not overreaction. That's totally the wrong game. We're going to be playing ourselves a game of what's more likely. The way what's more likely works is really simple. We asked you guys to send in some scenarios for us to pick of which is more likely. Jonathan's got a few picked out in front of him there. So, Jonathan, what do we got?
All right. First up, we'll start with Christian on this one. Is this what's more likely in this scenario? This comes from Amin Masha. An R-rated film passing $2 billion at the box office, or a horror film passing $1 billion?
You got a shot with the first one, the first option soon, and that's Odyssey. I would say $2 billion on an R-rated film, because Odyssey hasn't even opened in Japan yet, and if it does a big enough number, it's going to push it towards it. I thought Odyssey was going to tap out at like 1.3. It's already at like 1.5, 1.6. I think it's got a shot. Now, will it make it? I don't know, but I think you have a better chance of an R-rated movie, and especially after you see what the kind of numbers that Deadpool and Wolverine did, to go that big with a budget and that big with the marketing. I can't see even a movie like a juggernaut like Obsession. It didn't even come close to $1 billion. It was one of the most profitable movies of all time, but didn't come close to $1 billion. So I would say the R-rated film.
I'm going to differ with you on this. I'm going to say I think a horror film. Now, as of right now, Odyssey is still sitting at 1.4.
Okay.
It's closing in on 1.5 though. It's going to get there. But that would still make it the highest grossing R-rated film of all time and still being 500 million away from 2 billion. It made over 700 million, putting it only 300 million away from the $1 billion mark. We just had you just mentioned Obsession. We just had a $750,000 budgeted horror film make $500 million.
Mm-hmm.
So do I think we're about to have either one of these scenarios happen imminently? No. But I just think with the growing momentum with horror, and the fact that horror has gotten a little bit closer to that mark, I think everything Christian said is absolutely true, but I actually think it is more likely that the first one to do it will be a horror film hitting the $1 billion mark.
Well, John, it could be. I mean, it could be a rated R horror film.
Oh, yeah. Then we're stuck. Then we're stuck.
So, I mean, because if you look at it, so, because Obsession was rated R. So,
but if that happens, before it gets to 2 billion, it has to hit 1 billion. And that would mean that a horror film hit 1 billion first. There we go.
First. It'd have to be PG-13.
All right, Jonathan, what do we got up next?
All right. Coming up from Tommy, John, is this Tommy John? Tommy, is this or what's more likely here? Disney makes Star Wars episode 10, 11, 12, or an Old Republic trilogy in the next 10 years?
This is one of those situations where I think both, like sometimes we get these scenarios and say, well, I don't think either one's going to happen, but this one will be more likely. This is one of those ones where I think both have a shot of happening. Look, do I think there is a mind about the offices of Lucasfilm right now to do a Star Wars 10, 11, and 12? Maybe or maybe not. But at some point, the brand new CEO of Disney, Mickey Ficdicky McAdoo, whatever his name is, McLovin Jr., at some point, he's going to go take a walk over to the Lucasfilm offices and say, those Star Wars movies, those Star Wars proper movies, however well or badly executed, they made us a lot of money. Why aren't we doing Star Wars Episode 10? And so I just think at some point they're going to get back to that. Again, hopefully with a brand new set of characters and the next chapter in the future of where the galaxy's at and all that kind of stuff. But I think at some point you have to do that. I really do want to see Old Republic. They were going to do an Old Republic at one point, and that kind of fell off the rails, as was happening all the time under Kathleen Kennedy's reign. But I'm going to say, Christian, that I think it's more likely that we get the episodic Star Wars movies back. Although I certainly do think that the Old Republic stuff can happen too. What do you think?
The only thing I'm against, the only thing I disagree with you on is the fact that we're going to get an Old Republic thing. From birds that fly around that I listen to sometimes, they say that Filoni wants nothing to do with the Old Republic. Is from things that I hear. Now, whether or not how true that is, who knows? But again, from what I hear, 10, 11, and 12, that's what Kinberg's doing. That's what he's working on. Is 10, 11, and 12. So I think it is more likely we're going to, not only is it more likely we're going to get 10, 11, and 12, it's more likely we're going to get the announcement for 10, 11, 12 within the next year. So I think that.
Do you think that could come at Star Wars Celebration?
I think it should. I thought it should have come at D23, so they had some kind of announcement. If you were going to, I thought that they should have followed Marvel, but I thought they should have followed Marvel with an announcement to get excitement again, except they show the Ahsoka trailer and they don't even, hey, let's release our big trailer for next year. We're going to release it? No, let it leak. Oh, okay, that's smart. And then they don't release anything as far as big announcements go. So I think that Star Wars Celebration should announce that, because that will be April. Their big push will be for Starfighter, which hits a month later from Celebration, and then it's going to be like, well, what's coming next after that? They'll already have enough movement towards what Kinberg is doing, and I think that will be the announcement of 10, 11, 12. I would rather see Old Republic stuff, because I think you could start so fresh there, have the lore, not worry about the rule of two and all that stuff. You could just have a big old, just think about a Game of Thrones type of battle with a bunch of Sith and a bunch of Jedi in a battlefield with lightsabers, like gritty and old school. It'd be great. It's just never going to happen.
It reminds me, remember that, I mean,
that game
pure
trailer,
cinematic game trailer for Old Republic, just with the ship opening up and just, oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah.
So good. All right, Jonathan, what we got up next?
All right, going over to Christian on this one. This comes from Tyler. What's more likely, Matt Damon gets an Oscar nomination for The Odyssey, or Ryan Gosling gets nominated for Project Hail Mary?
Well, they're both getting nominated. It's both going to happen, but the more likely is Matt Damon. Well, I shouldn't say more likely. They're both likely, but I would say if you're going to go to Vegas, you're like, I only put $1,000 on one of them. Put it on Matt Damon. This is Matt Damon has been doing a lot of great work in his career, but I think we haven't heard about him in award season in quite a while, and I think because he's beloved, it's a great performance, probably one of the best performances in his career. So I think it is a given that he really does. He's the majority of this movie. I mean, there's strong performances, Anne Hathaway and tons of John Leguizamo, tons of great performances, but he's the guy everyone was talking about. Gosling will get it and should get it, but he was also just nominated for Barbie in Best Supporting. So I think Matt Damon's a given.
First of all, I agree with you that I think I'm going to be shocked if we get to the Academy Award nomination day and we don't hear both of their names. Like, right. I think we're going to hear both their names get nominated. However, if you told me, if a time traveler came to me and said only one of them gets listed, I'll be shocked, but then I'll say, I'm going to guess it'll be Ryan Gosling. Matt Damon, just like Christian said, he carries Odyssey. I mean, he is so good in it and surrounded by great performances. The thing about Gosling in Project Hail Mary was that there was a lot of scenes that he literally just had to make happen with his own performance because he's got either nobody else in the scenes with him or he's got a rock puppet that he's got to play off of. Whereas Matt Damon, as brilliant as he was in it, and I think he absolutely deserves a shot at it and deserves a nomination, he always had some really good performers around him also to play off of. Again, that doesn't take anything away from his performance at all. I just think it makes the Gosling performance, it reminds me a little bit of Tom Hanks in Castaway, where he had to give this this amazing, captivating performance with nobody else, right? Like kind of just him. And there's a lot of Project Hail Mary where Ryan Gosling does that. So I agree with Christian. I think it's both, but if I had to pick just one, I'm going to guess it'll be Ryan Gosling.
You can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah, you cannot go wrong with either one.
Yeah.
No.
All right, Jonathan, what we got up next?
All right, sticking with you, John. This is coming from Colin. What's more likely here, a Wicked 3 or a Barbie 2?
Oh, God. On its surface, the easy answer here is Barbie 2. I mean, Wicked is done. There has been word of the people who wrote the original Wicked stuff. They're writing another one. They're writing a follow-up, not necessarily for a movie, but the reality is I loved the first Wicked. I didn't think Wicked 2 was all that great. It was okay. It was all right. I didn't dislike it terribly, but I also didn't think it was all that. And it made less and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's unlikely. So I would have said easily Barbie, but the thing is, Christian, you probably heard those reports and those stories that they're not coming to an agreement on budget and salaries and all. They want, understandably, but Greta Gerwig and Ryan Gosling and not Samara Weaving, Margot Robbie, her twin sister apparently, want exorbitant amounts of money to do it. Understandably, when you saw how big of a hit the first one was. But, Warner Brothers seems pretty committed to being financially responsible, and it doesn't really look like either's going to happen, but I'll still stick with, I just can't see a Wicked 3 happening. So I will go Barbie 2. What about you?
The answer is Barbie 2. I mean, if you would have had a caveat saying, well, what's more likely to happen in the next 6 months? I'd say neither, but maybe Wicked, because there's no way they're going to figure this out in 6 months with Barbie cast, because I think it has a lot to do with the Paramount stuff because I'll tell you right now, if Paramount does get it, they're gonna move everything that they can. They're gonna make Barbie 2 happen, because it's gonna be another IP and it's gonna be part of those 3 movies that they're gonna do, and they're gonna want to have a big, huge number movie like Barbie, and they're gonna overspend and they're gonna pay what everybody wants. But there's just that they want to make the movie. They just got to figure out the money. We don't know what's going to happen with Wicked, so it's Barbie 2.
Yeah, because one of the big things, a lot of people, and I understand, and I see it in the comments all the time. I get it, but John, Barbie made $1.3 billion. Yes, but Warner Brothers is still licking the wound of Joker 2 Folia Due. Because the first Joker made over $1 billion, right? No brainer, pay everybody all the money. And look what happened. Not to say that's what would happen with Barbie, but I mean, Warner Brothers has to keep that in mind. You can't just assume that the next one's going to make the same amount of money as the last one. So it makes it tough, but it's completely understandable with the success that it had, that Gerwig and Gosling and crew, that they would want to get paid more. So let's see if they're able to come to something. All right. I think we got one more, don't we, Jonathan?
One more. This comes from Josh Miller. John, what's more likely here, Captain Marvel 3 or an Ant-Man 4?
Well, technically speaking, it would be Captain Marvel 2, since the Marvels was the Marvels. It wasn't a Captain Marvel 2. And I don't think the Marvels was as bad as a lot of people made it out to be. I also don't think it was a particularly good movie. But I don't think it was also the dumpster fire that say was Craven or whatever. I'm going to say it's more likely for a Captain Marvel 3. And I'm going to say that for 2 reasons. Well, 3 really. One, I think they've moved comfortably into having Paul Rudd's Ant-Man character be a ensemble member in other movies. I think that's where he's going to live from now on. Even if we see him past Secret Wars. I don't know that we will, but if we do, it's going to be there. Number 2, Kevin Feige just really loves the character. Like he's been on record many times. He loves that character. And regardless of whatever stumble they had with the Marvels, he loves that character. And so I think that makes it more likely. The third one is this. Well, I love Ant-Man 1. I love it. Like I like it more than Captain Marvel, even the first one. I love Ant-Man. But the reality is, and not even counting about what a dumpster fire Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was, Captain Marvel has already proven itself to be $1 billion film. Like Captain Marvel was literally $1 billion film. Ant-Man films have not come anywhere close to that. So look, to be clear, I don't think either of these scenarios are likely. Like I don't think it's likely that we're going to get a Captain Marvel 2 or 3, however you want to put it, or that we're going to get an Ant-Man 4. But if you're asking me which would be more likely for those reasons, I guess the more likely scenario I think would probably be another Captain Marvel movie. I don't know. Christian, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll push back a little bit on the Captain Marvel side of it, only because you mentioned it's $1 billion film. Let's not forget that it was in between. It was right after Infinity War, leading into Endgame. So everybody
an Ant-Man movie also released between those two films. And it didn't come anywhere near to $1 billion.
I don't disagree.
I don't buy that thing I hear from people about Captain Marvel only made $1 billion because of. If that logic was true, then that Ant-Man movie would have made $1 billion.
Well, but to follow up, the sequel to that $1 billion movie didn't even come close.
But it wasn't even that character's movie.
No,
right?
But she was still in it. It was still
She was still in it.
It was still in it. It benefited. We can agree that it benefited.
Sure, 100%. It benefited.
Right. Okay.
Well, that's the
100%.
only benefit, because you would have had to have seen Miss Marvel and also
Totally.
What's her name from the Disney? Photon from the
people
Disney
looked at
Plus
that and
shows.
didn't even know who those characters were.
No.
Yeah.
So I actually, and here's I don't think Brie Larson wants anything to do with it anymore. I think she's over it. I think she's over the. I mean, is she coming back for the 2 Avengers movies?
Definitely not Doomsday, but whispers are she'll be back for Secret Wars.
Okay,
but
so
I don't know that for a fact.
There's whispers, right? We know for a fact that Paul Rudd is coming back. Now, let me
100%,
first of all, I don't think either one of these movies is going to happen. A new Ant-Man or new.
Neither do I.
But the reason why I say Ant-Man could be more likely is if you do something with Ant-Man in these 2 movies to get the audience back on board to say, hey, maybe they'll go back into the heist movie instead of going off this crazy sci-fi, whatever the hell that was in the 3rd one, and go back to focusing.
People love Paul Rudd.
I know. And that's like doing another like heist movie with him.
Yeah.
Maybe that could work. But the other side of the reason why I'd push back against myself is that it doesn't look like Evangelina Lilly is going to be coming back. So Evangelina Lilly. So I think, unlikely, but I'll give the slight edge to Ant-Man.
Better have Luis in it.
Yes.
Oh,
100%. Yeah.
Bring it back for something, anything.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And that wraps up today's session of What's More Likely. Thank you to everybody who submitted your scenarios. Keep your eyes open on the YouTube community tab there for when we put out our next call for submissions, and maybe you'll see your scenario being debated on the next What's More Likely. All right, guys. With that down, let's go on and talk about this, shall we? Well, you guys know, of course, that there is the Paramount lawsuit going on, but there have been some developments. And look, just to give a highlight to everybody again, just follow along because I believe it's important every time we talk about this to just lay this groundwork, okay? Number one, a number of states, 12 states in total, are bringing a lawsuit to stop the Paramount Warner Brothers merger. The reason they're doing it is because the merger breaks the law. That is actually an adjudicated fact that it does. As we go over and look, the Clayton Act says that you're not allowed to have a merger if it will lessen competition and have the potential to create a monopoly. The Supreme Court said that the threshold for proving that is if a merger would make a company exceed 30% market share in a given industry. Then Judge Martinez of this Paramount case ruled in one of the preliminary hearings that, yup, it does indeed look like this merger will indeed exceed that Supreme Court instituted 30% threshold, which therefore puts it in violation of the Clayton Act. And that looks like the way this is going to go. And that is the time when David Ellison changed his tune from running around saying, we're going to win this lawsuit. This is going to be great for the industry. We're going to be so good for California. We're going to create so many jobs. And then all of a sudden like that, it switched to, fuck you. We're going to move out of California. If you don't give me what we want, we're going to move. Like that's the reason that he suddenly changed tune, was because it became apparent that, yep, the courts are looking at this and saying this is an illegal thing. Now, this is a very, very similar situation to when Disney was buying Fox, because the Department of Justice brought a lawsuit against that merger as well and forced Disney into a settlement where Disney agreed to cut out a whole bunch of the stuff they were going to get in order to make it go through. Now, that leads us to where we're at right now. Both Paramount and the states want to settle. They want to settle it. Both sides do. The question is, are they going to be able to come to an agreement of what would equal a settlement? Because here's the thing. Paramount is, you might have heard these two phrases. Paramount has been suggesting what's the terminology calls behavioral remedies. So things like, we double pinky swear that we will put out 30 films a year. That's a behavioral remedy. We double pinky swear that we're going to treat the writers really nice. That's behavioral remedies. What the states have said they're looking for is what's called structural remedies. A structural remedy requires a permanent physical change to the business, typically forcing the companies to sell off or spin off assets, studios, or networks to an independent competitor. It serves as a one-time fix that directly preserves the market competition without needing ongoing regulatory oversight. In other words, what the states are saying they want to settle is, hey, this deal breaks the law. Sell off some actual structural things that brings you back under that 30% threshold and then puts you in good standing with the law, and we'll settle and we'll give you the green light to go ahead with the merger, right? So that's been the whole thing. Both sides say they want a settlement. They're just looking to settle on different things. Paramount wants to be able to settle on behavioral remedies, making a lot of promises, even being willing to put it in writing, whereas the states are wanting structural remedies. Well, you may have heard that the two sides scheduled a meeting this week. They were supposed to meet today. Paramount and the states were supposed to meet and have settlement negotiations today. But the meeting got canceled because one side leaked. There was supposed to be a confidential communications they had, and one side leaked it out to the media. And so the states have said, you're acting in bad faith. You're trying to turn this into a circus, so we're not going to meet with you today. Now, at some point, they're going to get back together in a room and they're going to start to discuss some possible solutions. I talked to somebody, and I'm not the only one. There are other people out in the space who have heard this same thing as me. So this is not exclusive to me. I'm not pretending like I have the secret inside sauce. I'm not. But I did talk to somebody who revealed, and some of this is in the media as well, what some of the options on the table are for structural remedies that could satisfy the states and the WGA's lawsuit and clear the way for the Paramount Warner Brothers deal to go through. And a couple of them shocked me. Let's take a look. Here's some of the ones, and I'm just going to do this really quickly. One is divest a major film studio or distribution arm. What this one is basically saying is there's two different ways to approach it. The states are saying, tell you what, get rid of Warner Brothers Animation and sell off New Line and sell off this other studio, and that will satisfy the Clayton Act. That will bring you below that 30%, we believe, and that will satisfy it. But another version of that is that Bonta for the states has told Paramount, keep Warner Brothers as a completely separate operating studio. Because right now, of course, Paramount's plan, the strategy right now is to merge Warner Brothers into Paramount and make one studio. So what the states are bringing to the table and suggesting is, tell you what, you still own Warner Brothers, but you make a commitment to let them operate with their own board, their own budgets, their own decisions. Let them completely continue to operate as their own independent studio, like Netflix was going to let them do. Do that, and we might have something to talk about. So that's one of the things on the table. One of the other things on the table is to spin off key cable networks. And we're not just talking about CNN. We're talking about TBS, TNT, MTV, Cartoon Network, CNN, like all that cable stuff, because they're also going to be violating the 30% in the cable market. So one of the things that I understand Paramount is considering is the idea of spinning off all the cable networks. Now, as a friend of mine often points out to me, that's going to be very, very difficult for Paramount to do because, guys, you know that Paramount is going to be facing a $110 to $111 billion debt once this is all done.
Yep.
And these cable networks, as much as they're disappearing and they're going extinct and going out of style, right now, that's the money generator. Right now, that's what's generating the money. And so Paramount needs that revenue stream, but it is one of the things that they are apparently considering. A third thing that's been brought to the table is to sell off production facilities and lot space. We're talking about iconic lots of the Paramount lot, the Warner Brothers lot, and a lot of auxiliary sort of things that they've got around there to say, hey, I'll tell you what, sell all those things off so that other competition can have them. It'll keep employment vibrant, all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things that's on the table too. Now we'll get to number 4 in a second. For now, let's skip to number 5. Number 5, keep broadcast and regional ops independent. I've even heard, guys, it's been put on the table of selling off CBS, saying sell off CBS and actual network assets, not just, and network operations, spin those off. And then maybe that's something to talk about. That's certainly an intriguing thing. Again, it would be a big, big cut for Paramount, but apparently it's something that their legal team is looking at. But let's look at that number 4 one. This is the one that kind of surprised me a bit. Carve out franchise IP and libraries. Not just carve out a specific, spin off New Line. Carve out franchise IPs. In other words, okay, fine. Take Warner Brothers, but that puts you in violation of the law. But maybe if you sell off some big IPs, that will mitigate your control of the industry, and we might be satisfied with that it brings you under 30%, if not in actual numbers, then in spirit. That would include, I've been told this is all on the table. Harry Potter, DC, like DC Studios as a whole,
Right.
straight up being sold off. And a couple of other major properties as well. And it is flabbergasting to imagine Warner Brothers, under whoever's ownership, letting Harry Potter go or letting DC go. But it's something Paramount has to honestly and seriously look at if those become potential keys in greenlighting the deal to go through. Because don't forget that October 31st is coming quickly, or October 1st is coming. Is it October?
Yeah,
I think it's, yeah, end of October, where that late fee is starts ticking.
That's October 1st.
Yeah. What was the tune of it? $7 million a day?
Something. I thought it was 11, but I think seven's right.
It's a lot of money. It's more money than I'll ever see in my life per day. Per day starts ticking. So all these things here represent what we were talking about here as being structural remedies rather than double pinky swear behavioral remedies. Actual things that they need to do to change the structure of their merger that would then satisfy the lawsuit and make it go away, much like what happened with the Disney and Fox merger. And I'll tell you what, the one that, I mean, a lot of these make sense. Sell off one or two of the major studio components, spin off the cable networks, let Warner Brothers operate independently, sell production space. Like, all these things sound reasonable. These all sound like things that, yeah, it makes sense that you would ask for that. All of them would hurt. Like, if you're Paramount, having to cut out any of these things would hurt, but it's what's going to take to bring it within the good graces of the law. But the one that really fascinates me is the carving out franchises.
Because you're devaluing.
Every one of these things.
But the core of what you're purchasing, which is the studio.
Right.
I look at the cable.
Every one of these things devalues it, though, right? Like,
Sure.
every one of these things devalues it to a degree.
Yeah. But the core of the studio, not the cable companies and all that. You know what I mean?
The question is what happens.
What are you willing to do?
Yeah. Well, the question is also, when it comes to the money side of it, is okay. And talking about the ones you're selling off IP, when you look at it, and because the first things that I think the three of us, when you bring that up, is you think, like you said, John, DC and Harry Potter, right? Now Harry Potter is going to definitely be giving a little bit more juice now because of the TV series, right? And maybe if they do another movie down the line, but DC is the one. You've still got Batman. You still have these plans for DC. You still have an opportunity to put a lot of money in your bank if you do it the right way. And how long does Harry Potter have? Who knows? A couple seasons, 5 seasons, another movie. DC, you can make 87,000 Batmans for the next however many years. If you keep rebooting it and doing the things with all the characters that you have, you can continue to try to do it. So I think out of the two of them, you probably try to sell Harry Potter off to maybe Universal or something, considering that they have it at the, the theme park. But those are to me, what Jonathan was saying. He just kind of devalues the. Why am I buying this? If Ellison is being truthful, we really want to get into movies. We want to make movies. We want to do this. The one that to me, I go, I get what you're saying, John, with the cable and how that's making its money. And I guess would HBO Max be part of that too? You selling that off too?
To the best of my, that's being looked at as a completely separate thing.
Okay.
So I mean,
that's part of it.
I think that is something. Like, look, let's put it this way: if Ellison went to the table and said to the people suing them, "We're willing to carve out HBO Max," I think the other side will look at that and say, well, that's a serious move. Like, that is a serious concession. But I don't see that.
Then you're selling off Harry Potter. Then you're selling off Game of Thrones. And you're selling off a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see them being willing. I honestly think they would sooner consider buying a whole ton of Warner Brothers assets without buying Warner Brothers studio itself.
Do the inverse
before not taking HBO Max. Like, I honestly think to them, HBO Max is the crown jewel for them,
of course,
in this whole thing.
Yeah, and the other thing, I think that the interesting is letting them operate the way that they were beforehand and just kind of managing it, that would the Ellison still have, even though they would be managing them independently, and they're running on a separate thing. It's almost like WCW and WWF back in the day, right? It's like what I always thought that WWF did wrong was take WCW, put it in, just make a one big WWF. I was like, no, they built all this history with WCW and everything you did. Let it run on its own and just run it from the outskirts and do this thing. And that could be interesting if they're running it and still having, the overall say. But I don't know if that would be out of the question if they did that. Could the Ellisons still have say on what's made if they're running the studio from the outside?
I don't think so. I think they would have to put. I mean, again, I think they would own it. I think they would probably have like budgetary kind of stuff, but they would have to put in safeguards. And we've seen this happen in other merger cases where they would have to put in safeguards that would have to actually demonstrably show that that studio, Warner Brothers in this case, was operating independently.
That's hard to do for anybody, to let people just play with your money, though, if you don't have a say in it. So to me, it's like, I think that what they're going to wind up doing is they're going to wind up selling off, even though it was one of the major reasons I think that politically they were allowed to get the deal done. I think they're going to sell off CNN. I think they're going to have to bend the knee, and I think they're going to have to sell off the news organizations and do it. I think, because you mentioned Disney and Fox beforehand, and everyone always says, well, that went through and nobody cared. Everybody cared.
We got the Department of Justice sued them.
Everybody cared. It just doesn't seem like it did because it went through. And the reason why it went through is because they did what they did, and it was jobs, it was other things, and it sucks that so many people lost their jobs. It sucks. But when it comes down to it, when the DOJ was looking at it, they're looking at the political aspect of it first, and then the jobs and everything comes second. And it's unfortunate, but that's how it's going to happen. They're going to go, okay, you know what? You guys decided you're going to sell off the CNN and all that other stuff, and it's not going to be a political thing. All right, the jobs, that sucks. What can you do there? Oh, okay, fine. So sucks that people are losing their jobs, but go ahead and do it. It's unfortunately what's going to happen.
See, I think, because when you look at the Disney Fox deal, they cut out three major pieces. They cut out the Fox network, which was huge. They cut out Fox News, which was huge. And they cut out all of Fox Sports, FS1, FS2. Like, they cut all these huge pieces out. And that's why Fox still exists today as its own completely separate company. Now, Bonta has already said CNN isn't going to do it. CNN's not going to do it. But if they include CNN with TNT, TBS, MTV, Cartoon Network, here's what I think it'll ultimately come down to. I think it'll be a little bit of a mix of all of these things. I think what we'll see is Paramount might come up with a thing where they say, okay, how about this? We'll give up New Line Cinema, the New Line brand. We'll sell it off. We will cut out CNN, TBS, and TNT. We'll sell these areas of a couple of lots. We'll give up a couple of, not Potter, not DC, but a couple of smaller franchises. And we'll even carve out a couple of local ops and stuff like that, like small pieces of all five instead of entireties of all of these. And I think if they did that, I think the states and the WGA would look at it and go, though, that's a big enough concession.
Yeah.
Go ahead with the merger. The question will then be if Paramount will do it.
Yeah. Well, they keep talking about how we want to make movies. We want to be a big studio. We want to make movies. Well, then make movies and sell off the rest of the stuff and take your shot and make your movies. That's how it's going to get done.
So the question will be, how much do the states want them to give up, and how much is Paramount willing to give up? And again, I'm going to be fascinated if we find out that in 2 weeks a meeting happens and they come out of it and say, DC Studios has been sold to Sony Pictures. Like that'll do it. That'll get the deal done, I think. But I mean, I don't know. All I know is that it's something that is on the table and they're talking about. I just don't know if that's a realistic scenario, though. That just seems like too big of a piece of the pie, but we'll see. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? What's been made clear is that these little behavioral remedies ain't going to cut it. The states and the WGA want real concessions that will bring the Paramount Warner Brothers deal within good standing of the law. Structural changes will do that. Which structural changes do you think Paramount is going to be willing to do? Which ones do you think they're not going to be willing to do? Do you see them settling this? I still, look, Paramount has to get this done. So at the end of the day, I think they'll give up what they have to give up. But which ones are they going to think are too holy of cows, and which one are they going to see as being flexible? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, your live comments and questions. But before we do, we've got to do a couple of things here. First of all is bid good afternoon to Christian Harloff. Christian, thanks so much for being here, man. Where can people find you online?
You can go to my channel, man. Just go and subscribe over to Christian Harloff.
Good having you. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, of course, our technical producer, Jonathan Voico. Great job as always, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. See you guys later.
All right, guys. Now, before we get on to your comments and questions, we're going to take a quick second here, pay some of the bills, and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at Quince. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Quince. August is a great time to reset a few things before fall gets crazy, and one of the easiest places to start is your closet. That's where Quince comes in. Quince is all about fewer, better pieces made with premium materials that are designed to actually last. We're talking ultra soft organic cotton tees, Mongolian cashmere sweaters, premium denim, and tailored chinos starting at just $60. And here's what really stands out. Quince prices everything 50 to 80% less than similar brands by working directly with ethical factories and cutting out the middlemen. So you end up paying for the quality, not some giant markup. I've already ordered a number of things from their store. As a matter of fact, I love this shirt. It looks great, and most importantly, it's crazy comfortable. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers, or go to quince.com/Campea. Get free shippings on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Quince for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, let's get over to your comments and questions here, shall we? We're going to get things kicked off here. Who are we starting off with? I think we're starting off with Draco. Yes. Draco writes, Spider-Man is the hero of the box office 4 weeks in a row. Well, it hasn't had anything significant come out. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's obviously doing great, but let's not pretend it's had any competition. Anyway, and a hero of Minneapolis this past weekend. If you know, you know. Yeah, I saw that. Also, I really hope that the Paramount and WB merger fails. Well, again, I mean, there's a settlement to be made. There is a way to make this happen. There are several ways to make this happen, but all of them are going to require the states to determine what would be acceptable to them and Paramount to determine what are they willing to part with in the deal. Because they're not going to get everything they wanted in it. They're going to have to give up some stuff that are significant. It's not just going to be like little piddly CNN. That ain't going to cut it. It's going to have to be something significant. And so is it going to be something really, really big? Is it going to be a large number of smaller things that add up? Who knows? We'll have to see how that all kind of turns out. All right. Amin writes, can you please do an open spoiler after show for Lanterns on Monday nights? Well, I already announced yesterday that we are doing that. Would love to hear your theories, see what other people have to say, and just overall talk about how great the show is. And the show is great. The reason we didn't talk about Lanterns episode 2 today is because we're going to do an open spoiler discussion on Lanterns tonight. Me and Rob are going to talk about Lanterns episode 2. That'll be tonight at 5 p.m. So a little under 4 hours from now at 5 p.m. local time. And we're going to talk about Lanterns, and we hope you guys will come and join us for that. All right. Eric writes, I rewatched X-Men 2 and man, that movie rules. I love X-Men 2. I think it still deserves to be in the conversation of the top 10 best comic book movies ever. Like, I love X-Men 2. Anyway, Logan Berserker scene in the mansion, Nightcrawler opening scene, and Stryker was pure evil. You know, I still think the best opening scene to any comic book movie ever was the original X-Men with young Magneto. I think the second best one is probably Batman versus Superman with Bruce Wayne going through and watching all the destruction happen as a result of Zod and Superman fighting. But I think that Nightcrawler scene is still number 3. I think that Nightcrawler opening is one of the wildest, coolest openings ever to a comic book movie, and I still think it ranks way up there. All right. Next up. Let's see, where are we at here? Sin Vendetta sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Sin Vendetta, who writes, "Oh no, John, I think the AMC app screwed you with getting those Coyote versus Acme early screening tickets." Well, I didn't try to get them because I didn't know, I couldn't find where they were. Anyway, several times the app wouldn't display the times for the showings on Saturday, even though they were there. Very unfortunate. Yeah, I've heard that they were having problems with that. But one of the things I said on open mic yesterday was that I was challenged by a friend of mine saying, "John, you keep saying Coyote versus Acme will flop," which it will. It'll totally flop. "But you keep saying you think it looks awesome and you hope it does well." I really do. And I can't wait to see it. And he said, "Well, you should break your rule about never going to any press stuff and go see an early screening of it as a way to support the film. So that if you really like it, you can start promoting it early before it comes out." So I said on my show yesterday, I was thinking about doing that because I've had a rule for 3 or 4 years now that I do not go to any press stuff at all. I do not accept any press invitations to anything. But I have accepted an invite to go to an early event for Coyote versus Acme. I'm going to go see it Tuesday at a press event, which is not something I've done or gone to in years, but I'm going to do it for Coyote versus Acme because I really do think it's going to completely flop. But I also think it looks absolutely awesome. And a lot of people are telling me they think it's great. So I'm going to go check it out. One time only. I'm not going to do this again, so don't expect that I'm going to start going to press stuff. I'm not. But I will do this one time for Coyote versus Acme, and we'll hopefully it's as good as I hear it is, and hopefully it's as good as I think it looks. So we'll find out. All right. Next up, Alan S. writes, "Oh my God, if they do go through with all this, John, what big franchises will Warner Brothers have besides The Matrix? If you even can call that big." But I mean, it's not just about franchises. Yeah, franchises are major and significant, for sure. But how many Harry Potter movies have they made in the last 5 years? None. None Harry Potter movies in the last 5 years. Right? So is it really that big of a deal? I mean, it's not a big deal, but is it really that big of a big deal? I don't know. Do they look at Lord of the Rings? Do they look, I mean, look, you're going to have to kill something off, right? There's no scenario in this where Paramount gets the merger to go through without having to cut off one limb. They're going to have to cut off something. And all of it is significant. You may not think that the TV networks is a big deal. That's their financial pipeline. That's the money thing that's going to feed and help to address this amazing debt they're going to have. The production lots are huge. The independent studios are huge. Independence for Warner Brothers would be huge. I mean, there's no scenario that exists that Warner Brothers is going to get taken over by Paramount and this is going to go through for them without having to sacrifice something big. And there's no piece of this puzzle that isn't going to hurt, right? But it's what it's going to take to get it under that threshold to make it legal. So we'll see what that's going to be. All right. Next up, we got Sin Vendetta who writes, "But Coyote versus Acme was a delightful watch. Very funny and heartwarming with a couple of lull moments in the middle. Overall, definitely worth a watch. Hope word gets out and it performs well." Like, yeah, ever since it has to be over a year ago. I remember Lord and Miller went to go see it and they came out raving about it. And again, all the talk I've heard coming out of Comic-Con was that it was amazing. And, Warner Brothers never said the movie wasn't amazing. They just shelved it because they thought it was going to flop, and it is going to flop. But every word I hear is that it's great. I think the last trailer they put out was fantastic. I'm very excited about it. And here's hoping I like it as much as most other people do. All right. Next up, we've got Ramel who writes, Hey, John, hope your day is going well. It is. With the Destin Daniel Cretton connection, over under 30% Wonder Man and Trevor Slattery appear in Shang-Chi 2. Well, Trevor Slattery, a high probability because he was in the first Shang-Chi, right? So there's no reason not to have him. Wonder Man, I doubt it because that just makes that film way more expensive. Makes it way more expensive, and then it's not a Shang-Chi movie anymore, right? So I think Trevor, absolutely, because he was in Shang-Chi 1. I don't think we'll see Wonder Man in Shang-Chi 2, though. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know that for a fact, but my guess is probably won't see him in there. All right, Eric writes, I know that they're going to recast Wolverine for future X-Men films, but man, it's going to be weird at first not seeing Hugh as Wolverine. Yeah. No, it will. But you know what? People underestimate how quickly we as an audience adapt. I remember when Richard Harris passed away, Dumbledore. And I remember there was a lot of talk and chat about the fact that this is going to throw the audience off so bad. Like this audience who had gotten so used to Richard Harris as Dumbledore, and it's going to be so distracting, and it's going to be but you know what happened? I think it was Gambon, right? Yeah, Gambon who took over the role. Yeah, at first, for the first second or two, it was, oh, this is different. And then we didn't even think about it again. This was now Dumbledore. So in theory, is it going to be a radical kind of shock of the system to have anybody other than Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine? Sure. But our brains will quickly adjust. This is a new Wolverine. This is a different scenario. And this is all our Wolverine now. And it will be fine. Somebody's saying Legacy saying it's not the same. Oh, no, it's the same. You can say it's not the same all you want, but it is the same. I mean, the one difference is, whereas we had Richard Harris as Dumbledore for a certain number of years, we've had Hugh Jackman for like 20 years. Longer period of time, but the principle's still the same. I mean, it really is still the same. So everybody will adjust. Now, whether or not the new Wolverine is good or not, well, that's a totally different subject, right? Like if they write a crappy Wolverine, well, then that is what it is. But just somebody changing the role will find it jarring for a second, and it'll be weird for a moment, and then we will adjust and move on with the movie. And I think people really underestimate the audience's ability to do that. And I think it's been proven time and time again, you can do that. And I think it'll be fine. If they write a good Wolverine next. All right. S. Macaulay writes, finally saw Spider-Man. I love the toned down Frank, but didn't at the same time. He didn't have to drop F-bombs to still be badass. Again, that was one of my biggest, look, I knew Spider-Man was going to be great because it's Spider-Man and it's Destin Daniel Cretton who did Shang-Chi and did Wonder Man. So I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't know how good, but one of the big questions I had going into is how on earth are you going to do Frank Castle? How are you going to do Punisher in a PG-13 movie? Much like a lot of people have question marks, how do you do Deadpool in a PG-13 movie? And sorry, I'm distracted by something dumb somebody said in the live chat. And here's the thing about that. They found a way to still make him Frank without going to the extreme edges of Frank. Right? And they found a way to make him fit. They even did a joke about it it's in one of the trailers, so it's not a spoiler, where he's about to drop an F-bomb and Spider-Man webbed his mouth up. So that was kind of an interesting way to do it. By the way, here's something dumb of somebody who is missing the lead here. Disagreed. People are still fractured on Cavill and Reeve as better Superman compared to Corn Sweat. It's not, but that's about the projects and the writing, right? It's about the projects and the writing. And you can still think one person was better than the other and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to just somebody taking over a role and moving on, because you're talking about 3 completely different franchises, like you're missing the boat on this, Legacy. You're talking about The Cavill Superman was a completely different franchise. The Reeves Superman was a completely different franchise. We're not talking about a scenario where it's a totally new franchise and whether you like one franchise more than the other. We're talking about somebody taking over a role within the same franchise and now just taking over. David Cornsweet did not take over Henry Cavill's role and become Amy Adams's new boyfriend. People are divided over, and for stupid reasons, but people are divided over the complete different franchises. Dumbledore being switched out was within the same franchise. The new Wolverine is going to be in the MCU. And of course, some people are always going to prefer one actor over another. That's not a problem. The issue is, is it going to be completely distracting to everybody? Oh my gosh, this isn't Hugh Jackman. My mind can't wrap around this. That won't be a problem. That won't be a problem. So yes, anyway. All right, next up. We go on to Ramel, who writes, do you think an MCU Blade documentary would ever be made about its misfortunes? No, because Marvel will never okay it. Would love a Death of Blade What Happened type of doc, RIP to Schnepp. Yeah, that would be great to see at some point. That would be absolutely amazing to see at some point. But you'd have to get people who own rights to things to give permission for that to happen, and they will never give permission to that to happen. Ever will they give the permission for that to happen. So I don't see it happen. But man, I would be first in line to go see that, dude. I would be absolutely first in line to go see that. All right, next up. Jesus writes, what do you think of the rumor that according to Andy Muschietti, the DCU Batman is on hold because they are waiting for the merger to be solved? I saw that rumor. I don't know that I buy it. Partially because Warner Brothers is still moving ahead on a lot of projects. DC is still moving ahead on projects. So I don't think I buy it. The only thing to me that would give it any semblance of authenticity is James Gunn, who, you know what I believe about the James Gunn thing. I believe James Gunn has no desire to work for the Ellisons. So if Paramount does take over the deal, does take over Warner Brothers, I believe James Gunn is going to exercise his contractual right in 2027, somewhere in the middle of 2027. He will exercise his contractual right to get out and leave. So James Gunn, I guess, we're talking theoreticals here, guys. I guess theoretically speaking, James Gunn may feel, well, you know, Batman is such an important piece to DC. I might be splitting. So instead of me making the decisions about what's going to happen with Batman, if I split, I should leave those decisions to whoever comes in after me. Maybe. But again, Warner Brothers continues to move ahead with business as usual. DC is continuing to develop and make projects. So I don't think I buy it, but there are realms that it could be real if James Gunn just may not want to make those decisions that somebody else will have to live with. So maybe that's the case. I don't know. All theoretical though, Jesus. All right. Good question though. Sam Fisher writes, Paramount considers selling off DC. Oh God, get ready for the endless talking heads endlessly discussing Disney should buy DC and that to never end. Here's the thing though. I don't think Disney would ever be allowed to buy DC, because it would absolutely create a comic monopoly, right? So I think even if Disney, and I'm sure Disney would love to own DC, I don't think it would ever be allowed. I don't think any legal department anywhere would ever allow that to happen. That would be an app. So if in some world, Paramount, in all these options they're considering, remember, I'm saying like these options here, these are all on the table for Paramount. Like, that's not to say any of them are likely or that any of them have like a serious chance of happening, but every single one of these things are things that Paramount is considering, including one of the things on the table is DC. Do I really see that happening? I don't personally, but if they ever did, if they did decide to offer up DC as one of the compromises, there's a lot of people who could potentially buy it, and none of them are called Disney, because again, that would 100% create an absolute monopoly. And yeah, there's no way. I don't think any Justice Department would ever let that happen. All right, let's get back over to it here. Thanks, Sam. Next up, Sin Vendetta writes, I still find it incredible that Obsession has now crossed $500 million at the worldwide box office. It was only supposed to be in theaters for just 2 weeks, and now it has had a full 90-day run. It's an excellent movie. It's just an excellent, excellent movie that struck several chords. Several chords. And it's a rewatchable movie. Now, I still don't think the ending is great. But that was just 2 minutes of the movie. It is a fabulous movie. And, you know, I think it deserves all the success that it's had. And it's going to launch a couple of big careers, including in Indy Never Ready. And the guy, I forget the name of the guy who played Bear. But he's going to go on to, he was amazing in that movie too. He gets overlooked, but it's just incredible the success this movie's had, man. All right. Next up, where are we at here? We are at The Refugee. I love that name. Sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Refugee, who writes, as a follow-up of yesterday's about IMAX contract, it seems like the Odyssey is going to be forced out of IMAX and IMAX 70mm theaters, which is a shame. I wish we could see its full potential if gone unlimited. I think it's nearing the end of its run anyway. Like, let's not create the mistaken impression that it's just, oh, it had such a limited, it had a very robust IMAX run. And let's also not look past the fact, as I bring this up here, let's not look past the fact that it's slowed down, right? It has slowed down. Now, it still made 19 million this weekend, which is great, but it is slowing down. It is coming to the end, its end of life cycle. As a matter of fact, Insidious passed it. So Odyssey actually got pushed out of the number 3 spot. Or it got pushed down to the number 3 spot. So yeah, would it make even more if it was able to have a little bit of a longer runway? Yes, but it's made the majority of its money. So again, it would have been interesting to see how far it could have gone, but IMAX needs to make money. There are other movies to put on IMAX that will at some point start selling more tickets. So they have to do it, which is, I mean, hey, contract is why they were able to keep it as long as they did. Contract is why they're going to have to eventually move out. All right. Fergus writes, hot take, but people should stop calling pieces of media slop solely because they don't like them. That's ridiculous. Anyway, regardless of your intentions, calling something slop automatically insults anyone who likes it. Oh, fuck that. That's not true at all. That's ridiculous. That's okay. As a film loving brethren, I'm gonna have to take you to task on that one. That's ridiculous. If you don't like something, you're allowed to say, I think that was garbage. Like, hopefully, like you're saying it for the right reasons. It's like, there's a gay person in it. But no, if you watch a movie and you think it's badly made and badly put together, you say that is garbage. That's slop. That's terrible. Of course, and saying that is not insulting to anybody. And look, if you feel, this is one of the big problems with the film community right now, and has been for a number of years. If you get personally insulted, if you are personally insulted because of what somebody else doesn't like a movie you like, then that's a problem with you. That is a problem with you. And that has been a problem in film community for a long time. Like, because when you wrap your identity up in a movie, that an insult against a movie I like is an insult against me that's an attack on me personally. Then dude, get outside and touch grass. That's not just wrong thinking. That's dangerous thinking. That's dangerous thinking. Now, of course, there are insults you can level against a movie that would clearly also be insults against other people at the same time. And I'm not going to justify by going into what those are. Absolutely. But if somebody watches a movie, in as much that they have a right to say, I think it was great, I think it was awesome, I think it was epic, they have the right to say, I think it was slop, I think it was garbage, I think it was terrible. And if you get personally insulted by that, there is something wrong with you. And you need to get past that. Film is art, and art is subjective, and it's going to hit us all in different ways. And we have to be able to be allowed to say what we thought about a certain piece of art. And look, if you have a movie you love and I say it's slop, I am not thinking about you one bit when I call that movie slop. You are the furthest thing from my mind if I think a particular movie is garbage. If you're a fan of Kraven the Hunter, God bless you. That's awesome. I'm glad you like it. But I think it was a crime against humanity. And I did not give you one bit of thought when considering my opinion about that movie. So why on earth would you take that as any kind of a personal offense on yourself? Anyway, so no, I have to disagree with you on that, Fergus. I absolutely have to disagree with you on that. All right. Next up, Casey Crow writes, any plans to work on more films or documentaries? Yes. I'm not I'm not in a place to talk about any of them right now. By the way, it's piddly squat nothing stuff. It's nothing that's like, oh, I'm working with Disney on something. No. And yeah, there are a few projects I'm looking at working on. Nothing that would shake anybody's world, but that are very good to me, very special to me. But I'll talk about those whenever we get whenever they've come to a point where it's ready to be talked about. Anyway, thank you for asking though, Casey. Monkey Tongue writes, do you think Dune 3 will make $1 billion? The first two didn't. Just curious on your take on. I've talked about this a million times. The Dune franchise is not $1 billion franchise. I said that before the first one came out. It's higher thinking sci-fi, which is absolutely not for everybody. It's higher level sci-fi, which is absolutely not for everybody. The Dune franchise is not a 4-quadrant franchise. The fact that Dune 2 made I believe over $700 million is remarkable. Actually, now I got to look that up. How much did Dune 2 make? Dune 2. Yeah, Dune Part 2 made $714 million, which I think is remarkable for a franchise like that. But it is not particularly, kids can't watch it and get anything out of it, I don't believe. There's a big segment of adults that this type of sci-fi is not for. It's just not a film franchise for everybody. And I've been saying that since before the first movie came out. So the fact that the second one made so much more money and made $700 million, generally speaking, I still stand that the Dune franchise is not a $1 billion franchise. It's the greatest franchise, but it's not a $1 billion franchise. Looking at ticket sales, seeing how much excitement the Doomsday phenomenon is creating, I'll say there's a shot Dune 3 could make $1 billion. An unlikely shot, but a shot nonetheless when you look at all the momentum right now. But that's the thing. The measurement for Dune 3 is not the $1 billion mark. That's not the measurement for a film like this, because unlike Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is a total 4-quadrant movie, Dune is not that. And it's never going to be, and it's not meant to be. So yeah, I don't know. It may have a shot because of all the positive momentum, but I don't think that's its target, and I don't think that's what it needs to make. All right. Next up, we've got Thomas, who writes, with films like Secret Wars, Man of Tomorrow, Gollum, Shrek 5, Frozen 3, and others, how big is the chance Starfighter won't crap the top 10 box office in 2027? Well, honestly, I would say it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Look, if Starfighter shits the bed and makes $215 million, all right? But a whole bunch of other movies do too, and it just so happens that $215 million made it the number 9 film of the year. Do you think that's going to make Lucasfilm feel any better? Does that make Disney feel any better? It's like, okay, there were $2 billion films, and then one that made 800, then one that made 500, and then one that made 400, and then a couple that made 200, and one that made 195. Yay! Starfighter made the top 10. Woo! That won't help. That will not make anybody at Disney or Lucasfilm feel any better about it, and it doesn't reduce $1 that they lost. it's completely irrelevant. Nobody at Lucasfilm or Disney cares if Starfighter gets into the top 10. They care about how much money it makes. Well, it's two things. They care how much money it makes, and they care that it's really good so people will be interested in future Star Wars movies. Because Mandalorian and Grogu certainly hurt, and Starfighter's going to have to fight against the negative feelings coming out of Mandalorian and Grogu. Anyway, so it's the question isn't about whether it, because look, if Starfighter can make $800 million, it won't matter to Disney if 10 other movies made over that. It won't matter to them. They'll just be popping bottles that Starfighter made $800 million. So I don't know. I don't know if we get into the top 10, but what I would say is ultimately at the end of the day, it won't matter. It really doesn't matter to Lucasfilm or to Disney. What they care about is, does it start to win the audience back, get some positive feelings towards Star Wars again, which they've been losing a lot of, and or not being, and or being the exception, of course, which is the greatest thing Star Wars has ever made since the original trilogy. But they won't really care. All that matters to them is how much money does it make. That's whether that puts it in the top 10, Thomas, or not. I don't really think they're going to lose any sleep over one way or the other. All right. Next up, Cameron Cox writes, Demon Slayer made $800 million at the worldwide box office last year. One Piece will be the first anime to hit $1 billion. Love the show. I doubt it, but I mean, hey, for the people who are fans of it, I hope it does. I mean, that would be great if it did. I don't think it will, but it'll be really, really cool if it did. By the way, that Demon Slayer success is quite a story. I mean, I don't give a crap about it, but that doesn't mean I don't think it's an amazing thing what it accomplished. And what it accomplished was huge, but I don't give a crap about it. Either way. All right. The Oncoming Storm writes, one of two. I'm really struggling to see how this is a good move for Paramount, still with all the bad PR from how they've conducted themselves and then all the debt they will take on. I'm also struggling to see how it's a good deal for them. And you're going to sell two of your biggest franchises. Also, would they have to start paying a license fee to keep making the Harry Potter show? Because if so, that won't be cheap. I mean, look, we're dealing with theoreticals. We're dealing with a sea of theoreticals on a planet of theoreticals, right? You're dealing in theoreticals on top of theoreticals. And at this point, instead of going theoreticals based on other theoreticals based on other theoreticals, let's just deal with the top line service thing here. There is a number of potential compromises on the table. All of them for Paramount would hurt, sure, but that's what compromises are. And if they find a combination of one, they're going to have to ask, okay, this would suck if we have to give this up. But if it gets the deal done, that takes priority over how much it will suck. Now, I don't really think it'll end up being the selling off DC option or selling off Potter option, but those are pieces on the table. And if the Paramount people believe, hey, keeping the studios is a higher priority, keeping the physical lots is a higher priority, keeping our cable networks, because that's what's giving us revenue right now, is a higher priority, fine. It would suck to lose DC or Lord of the Rings or Potter or whatever else, sure. But if that gets the deal done, let's do the deal. Again, I think it'll be something else. But now, what happens then if that theoretical happens? What could theoretically happen then after that? We could get into an entire swamp if we go down that sinkhole. So let's not do that right now and just deal with the top level theoreticals, which are, which compromises will Paramount be willing to make? And we'll find out oncoming. I mean, you're asking the right questions, but again, we're just in a place where it's kind of pointless to try to deal with theoreticals that are built on other theoreticals right now. Let's go one step at a time and see where we end up. But your thinking's in the right place. All right. X-Men Superfan writes, hello, when you said Timothée Chalamet would join Meryl and Daniel as one of the greats, I must say I agree. But someone also mentioned Emma Stone. What do you think about her joining them up there? Well, I mean, look, let me be clear about something. What I've always said about Timothée Chalamet has been that out of all the actors in the world right now, I only see one who right now has the potential to be the next Daniel Day-Lewis. Not that he will be the next Daniel Day-Lewis. Who is the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. Daniel Day-Lewis is the Bret Hart of acting. And if you know that reference, you know that reference. But I have certainly not seen anything that has changed my mind about that. Timothée Chalamet's performances just keep getting better and better and better and better. He is maybe the best actor in the world right now. Maybe. But I also know this. I don't think there's any actor on the planet right now, like if you want to take some really, really phenomenal actors like Leonardo DiCaprio, maybe one or two others. Timothée Chalamet, I don't even believe is at 70% yet of how good he is. Like he just keeps getting better and better and better. And I still think he's got a ton of headroom. I think we've seen Leonardo DiCaprio peak, and his peak is way up here, but I think we've seen him peak. And he'll continue to give great, amazing performances. But Chalamet, I don't think he's peaked yet. I still think he's got even more improving that he's going to be. Like he just keeps getting better and better and better every time we see him. Now, Emma Stone. Emma Stone's interesting. Let me pull this up because I just want to make sure I get the numbers right here on it. Emma Stone is already a multi-time Academy Award winner, right? And she's been nominated numerous times. Let me see if I can win it here, if I can find it here. All right, so in the Academy, just for the Academy Awards, she has won already, let's see here. She was nominated once, twice, 3 times. Wait a second, maybe even more. 4 times, 5 times. She's been nominated for 5 Oscars already. Emma Stone has been nominated for 5 Oscars already. And she's won 2 of them. She's won Best Actress twice at the Oscars. That puts her in very, very rare company. And neither of those are flukes because she got nominated 3 other times on top of that. And she's still like super young. How old is she right now? Let me see if I can bring this up. She was born in 1988. So she's not even 40 yet. Dear God, she's been nominated for 5 Oscars, won 2, and she's not even 40 yet. I don't think she still has the exceeding upside that Timothée Chalamet has. But yeah, she's one of them. I mean, you can't, I'm sorry, you can't deny it. She's one of them. She's at the top, right up there too. Anyway, is what it is. But yeah, Timothée Chalamet he's the guy. He's the guy. And you know, it's so funny, but watching that one-on-one that Robert Downey Jr. and Timothée Chalamet did, and Robert Downey Jr. basically saying it too. Like Robert Downey Jr. is like, I think one of the great actors of his generation, saying to Timothée, you're it, like you're the one, you're the next one. And I just think that's the thing. But can he continue to keep getting better and better and better like I think he will? We'll find out. I mean, we don't know. He's not at Daniel Day-Lewis level yet, but I think if anybody has the potential to get there, I think it's him. But Emma Stone, I mean, you can't, dear God, like her resume already before even hitting 40 is so crazy good. All right. Oncoming. Oh, we already did that one. Next up, Elliot Morris writes, "Hey John, in your opinion, do you think there's more of a market for producing skills over directing skills in terms of career progression?" 2 totally different things. They're 2 totally different things. And when you say that, the problem with producing is you go to any movie, you could see up to like 15 different people listed as a producer, whether it's a producer, senior producer, executive producer, associate producer, whatever. There's like Steven Spielberg has made a career out of making 1 phone call and then them adding his name as a producer on a movie when he doesn't do anything on a movie. Like it just means so many different things. And it's 2 wildly, totally different things, right? A director, you get hired to do the job. if you're the producer of something, you're the one doing the hiring. I mean, so it's not something that you can really compare. I mean, we could get into it if I wanted to dedicate 10 more minutes here to it, but I don't have the time for that. All I'm going to say is that those are radically different things, not just in job function, but in like who reports to who. Are you the boss? Like, and then what does even producer mean? Director, we all know what director means. Director means the same thing every time, but not for a producer. So it's really it's a good question, Elliot. It's just one we don't have time to go into for 25 minutes here. All right. Mitch writes, just curious if you ever saw Backrooms. Yes, not impressed. I'll be honest, I'm not impressed. And I hate saying that because I love Chiwetel Ejiofor. I love Chiwetel Ejiofor. He is the man. I love that guy. I mean, I remember I took notice of him when he played the operative in Serenity as one of the greatest, I think, sci-fi villains ever. And I've just totally paid attention to him ever since. He's one of my favorite actors. I'm going to be honest with you. I loved Obsession. I did not think Backrooms was I don't get the appeal of Backrooms. I get the appeal of making the movie and the appeal of like the mythology and the lore of it and the YouTube shorts. Absolutely. And I thought the movie looked really good, but then I watched it. I'm like, I don't get why anybody likes this. And it absolutely has its fans. I'm just being straight with you. I by the time it got to the end of Backrooms, I'm like, what was the point of the whole movie? Like what? Yeah, I mean, there were elements of it I thought were pretty good. And I don't think the movie was hot trash, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I certainly wanted to like it more than I wanted to like Obsession, but I ended up loving Obsession. I thought Backrooms was a swing and a miss, but that's just me. All right. Eric writes, John, another football season is upon us, and another year my Cowboys make me crash out and hate everything. Last time they won the Super Bowl, I was 95, and I was born in 96. Just my luck. Yeah, look. I'm going to see if I can find this. I bet I can't, but just in case I can, let me take a peek. Let me take a peekaboo here, and see if I can find it. I'm going to share with you something I shared on my social media, which pissed off some of my friends. Here we go. Let me see if I can get this on screen here. 1 second. All right. I love this. I put this on my Facebook, but said this. Breaking news. Dallas Cowboys practice was delayed 2 hours today after a player found an unknown white powdery substance on the field. Jerry Jones immediately suspended practice and called for the police. After analysis, experts confirmed it was the goal line. Practice resumed once the officials decided the Cowboys were unlikely to see it again this season. Kabam! How about them Cowboys? Yeah, I absolutely detest the Cowboys. I celebrate and revel in their misery every year, which is funny because there's actually a bunch of Cowboys I really do like. Like, I like Dak Prescott. I do. I like Dak Prescott. There's a lot of guys on Dallas that I really quite like. But as an organization, there is no organization that I love watching fail as much as the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know. Is what it is. But listen, I was a Patriot fan for 20 years, man. 30 years. When Coach Parcells went to the New England Patriots, I followed him over there and became a fan of the Patriots. And then came the Tom Brady years and all the Super Bowls and all that kind of stuff. And I've fallen off them because they're just a totally different team now than before. There's nothing left there about the team that I used to love. And so now I'm just a fan. I don't have one team. I just love football. I just love watching a bunch. But I do have to admit, I love cheering against the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Anyway, good luck to you though, Eric. Listen. Say what you want. They may win a bunch of games, they may lose a bunch of games. They have a fiercely entertaining offense. They have a very entertaining offense to watch. And I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. I really do. I'm just going to be cheering for them to lose. All right. Eric writes, but I'm hopeful for my Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars I feel differently about. The former Minnesota North Stars, I feel differently about them. I go all the way back since they were the Minnesota North Stars and they had Dino Ciccarelli. A lot of you guys don't know that name, but he was one of my favorite hockey players at the time when he was on the Minnesota North Stars. All right, Thanos writes, you know who would be the ultimate troll movie casting for Cavill? Dakin, Wolverine's son. Yeah, but that's the thing about the X-23 and Dak and all that kind of stuff. By the way, he's very, very powerful in the comics. Like irrationally powerful. Like he's way OP'd. That aside, I don't think you can start a brand new X-Men era and just already be past Wolverine, who is by far the most popular character in X-Men lore. Like that's not even a question. Wolverine is the most popular character in X-Men lore. You can't just start brand new X-Men and say X-Men's or Wolverine's in the past. We're done with Wolverine. That's like doing a new DCU and saying, yeah, Superman, Batman, nah, they're old news. They're old news. Like I just don't think you can do that. Anyway, next up. X-Men superfan Emma Frost writes, Anne Hathaway is having a great year. She certainly is. The Odyssey marks the third time she collaborated with Nolan, the others being Interstellar and Dark Knight Rises. What do you think Anne brings as an actress to a Nolan film? Well, it's not what she brings to a Nolan film. It's just she is one of the great actresses today. She's an Academy Award winner. She's a multi-time nominee. I think she's one of the best in the business. And, you know, it's like anything else. Christopher Nolan's like a lot of other directors. When he finds actors he really likes working with, he goes back to them and works with them a lot. And that can be said of a lot of actresses too. And she just happens to be a great one. All right. Victor writes, I saw the Mad King, Game of Thrones, play, and it's superb. Seeing Robert's rebellion, young Ned, Rhaegar, and Lyanna, and events we heard about in the books / show come to life was thrilling, renewed my love of Westeros. You know what's funny? I recently saw somebody do a full Robert's Rebellion documentary, but like with sketches that they did. And it was like a half-hour long thing on YouTube. I should look it up again. And they just narratively went through the entire Robert's Rebellion and like the role Ned Stark played in it and all that kind of stuff. And it was awesome. It was really, really awesome. If you guys can find it online, I highly recommend you check it out. All right, Thanos again writes, hey, what's more likely? Kit Harington returns to the MCU as Black Knight, or Marvel makes an Avengers versus Squadron Supreme movie? Why would they do? Nobody would watch that. Nobody would care about that. So I think it would be more likely that Kit Harington would return, because that's always a possibility. All right, Rick 302 writes, my itinerary for Doomsday, Dune Part 3 in IMAX 70mm on Monday, and Tuesday, December 14th and 15th. Then Doomsday on Thursday and Friday in Dolby. Dune 3 again on Sunday and Doomsday on Sunday. 3 Dunes and 3 Doomsdays. Yeah. Oh, I don't have my phone in here for my agenda. I will have seen Dune 3 twice before I watch Doomsday. And that's before opening day. So I will have seen Dune 3 twice before opening day. And then on opening day, which is Thursday the 17th, I'm seeing Avengers Doomsday at 1:30 in the afternoon. And then I'm going to do my third screening of Dune 3 at 5:30 p.m. that night. That is my current screening of it. Doomsday is coming, baby. And I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun, Rick. All right. X-Men Superfan writes, as person that prefers Superman 25 and the DCU, more than the last universe, Diane Lane as Martha Kent was, she was a great Diane Lane was a great Martha Kent. I can't forget his performance. So good. Yeah. And Kevin Costner was a great Pa Kent. I still think one of my favorite moments in all of comic book movies, one of my favorite moments is when young Clark says to Kevin Costner's Pa Kent, says, can't we just keep pretending I'm your son? And he pulls him in. The performance of Costner in this moment was so good. He pulls the kid in and says, you are my son. I think that is, bar none, top 5, top 10 in there somewhere, greatest single moments in comic book movie history. I think that moment is so good. But yes, Lane as Diane Lane as Martha Kent was absolutely perfection. She was great in it. All right. Georgie writes, John, got my AMC A-list accidentally canceled. Oh no. Trying to reverse it before cutoff in September. AMC support is very slow to answer. Yeah. Any experience dealing with AMC support or tips? I'm a bad guy to ask because I actually know the people who are AMC support. So when I have a problem, I literally just directly email the vice president of PR at AMC. I just email them personally and say, yo, this is going on. What's up? So I'm not the right guy to ask. I have been told, though, that a good way to interact with AMC customer service is direct messaging them on Twitter. I think what I've heard before is that they are quickest to respond to stuff sent into them via direct messages on Twitter. So you might want to try that. Again, I haven't had the same issue you're having, so I can't speak to a one-to-one scenario, but I would give Twitter a chance and see if that happens. All right. Next up, Joshua sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Joshua, for supporting us on that level, man. And Joshua writes, hey, John, loving Lanterns so far. Me too, man. Assuming Lanterns gets a season 2, and depending on how season 1 ends, would you like to see Jon Stewart mentor a young Kyle Rayner? No. Luce adapting the 4 Corpsman arc alongside Howling Guy? Nah. I honestly think you're getting too much. By the way, I don't know if there will be a Lantern season 2. They keep saying there will be. We'll talk about that later. Look, we already have, for a planet that the Guardians never even wanted to have a Green Lantern, according to the show. As of right now, they have 3. Well, depending on what's going on with Hal, but we have 3. We got Guy, we got John, we got Hal, and now we're going to bring like Earth, and now we're going to have a 4th Green Lantern. And like, so listen, I like Kyle Rayner. I like the character, but I don't think you should bring in another Green Lantern. I think 1 Green Lantern is enough. I think 2 Green Lanterns is pushing it. 3 is, what are you thinking? And 4 is just way over the top. So no, I don't, while I like the character very much, I don't think bringing in Kyle Rayner would be a good idea, to be honest with you. But let's see what happens, man. All right, Santiago writes, hey, John, what did you think of Dan Murrell's video on your inflation take? Both of you have great points. Love seeing healthy, rational debate online. I still think, look, I'm not going to go in a back and forth with Dan because people think I have some kind of rival. Dan's amazing, and Dan is super brilliant. Again, I will just lay down this thing. The reason inflation is, the reason trying to adjust box office for inflation is the same reason why science, whenever there are science experiments, right? What do you have to have? You have to have a controlled environment. What that means is, let's say you want to run I'm going to make up something completely out of my ass, okay? But what the scientific method dictates is if you say want to run a science experiment on how well, or how does Mentos, how does Mentos interact with boiling water? Great. You can do that experiment. Let's say you want boiling water water at 90 degrees Celsius, which isn't quite boiling, and you want to do it at 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, you want to do a comparison of how does Mentos interact with water that is 90 degrees versus water that is 100 degrees, and you want to compare those results. Okay, fine. But if you're going to do that, the scientific method says everything has to be the same then. The room temperature has to be the same. The environmental conditions have to be exactly the same. Did you put a little bit of salt in one and not the other? Can't do that. They have to be exactly the same. Did you use the same or completely identical burner to bring the water up to temperature as you did with the other one? They have to be exactly the same. It's called a controlled environment. And what the scientific method says is, you want to try to drop a Mentos into 90 degree water and one into 100 degree water to see the differences. Your results mean nothing. Your results mean absolutely nothing if it wasn't in a controlled environment where all the other aspects were completely identical. Because if they're not, and you're introducing other variables, it makes your results useless. That is the exact same thing with trying to adjust for inflation. You can't just adjust for inflation because too many things were different at one year than they were in another year. 1,000 things, 1,000 environmental things were completely different. So trying to say, well, that just adjusted for inflation, according to the scientific method, that renders it completely pointless. Because you're adjusting dollar values from an era that didn't have streaming that it's competing against versus results of an era that does have streaming that it's competing against. You're trying to adjust dollar values in an era that had 2-year-long theatrical windows versus an era that has 2-month-long theatrical windows. You're trying to compare dollar values and inflated dollar values in an era that didn't have home TV versus one that did. You're trying to compare it against one that didn't have the internet for displaying its trailers and advertisements to people versus one that did. You're comparing one dollar value during an era that had an economic crash during another movie that came out in an era that didn't have an economic crash. It's pointless. It renders whatever results you come up with completely useless. So, look, that's not to say there isn't some interesting things to do, that there isn't some interesting information to glean out of comparing for adjustment for inflation. But unless you're adjusting for inflation from two different eras that had the exact same environmental conditions, then it renders your findings completely meaningless. So I stand on that and I stick by that, and I'm with it 100%. Dan and I will disagree on a lot, and that's fine. There are very, very few guys on the internet that I respect as much as Dan Murrell. The guy's brilliant. I love his analytical thinking. I love the way he dissects issues. He's one of my favorite guys on YouTube. But we're going to disagree on some things, and this is one of those things that we disagree on, and it's perfectly okay. I still hope to have Dan on the show here sometime soon, to be honest with you. Anyway, Georgie writes, thoughts on Buddy movie, looks scary, cool vibes. Well, I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't have a lot of thoughts, but it looks creepy as hell. It looks creepy as hell. But then again, I've seen other movies that look creepy as hell and don't end up being that, but Buddy looks creepy as hell. I hope it delivers. Keaton writes, who has the most compelling no killing rule, Batman, Superman, or Spider-Man? Well, it's interesting because all of them have killed. All of them have killed. So I think it's kind of, I don't really care, because all of them do things in the comics that would absolutely kill the person they're doing it to. The writers just say it didn't kill them. Of course, my great example of this, and Batman is killed many times in the comics, make no mistake. But the biggest, I still remember, this is my throw to this one. There's this one issue of Batman where Batman is like hunting down these two thugs, right? And he's waiting for them in this dilapidated kind of abandoned house. And the guys are up on the second floor. And Batman is hiding in the rafters. And in the comics, Batman drops his 240 pounds down on the guy, knees in his chest that breaks through the floor down to a concrete floor on another level below that, with Batman at 240 pounds landing knees first on the guy's ribs. In the comic, now that would kill the guy. Sorry, just straight up, that's game over. The guy has canceled his subscription to life. It's done. He's over. But in the comics, they just write Batman thinking, a ruptured spleen, 4 broken ribs. He'll be in traction for a month, but he'll live. So, to me, it's a cop-out. They say Batman has this no-killing rule, but they have him constantly doing things that would absolutely kill the people he's doing it to all the time. And he kills all the time in things. So I think the no-kill rule for a lot of the stuff is dumb because they just handle it so badly. All right. Alex Weiss writes, hey guys, love the show. Today is my birthday. Happy birthday, Alex. Celebrating a bit today by seeing Spider-Man again in Screen X. Thanks, and bring on the filthy. You know what? The last time I saw Spider-Man was on a Screen X. It was my first time ever going to a Screen X, and I had a really good time with it. I'm going to go to Screen X a little bit more. I had a lot of fun with it. Anyway, Alex, happy birthday, my friend. I hope you have a great one. And guys, that'll do it For today's installment of the John Campea Show, thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to the thousands of you guys in the live chat. Thank you so much for being here and joining us today and contributing along the conversation in the live chat. I appreciate all of you so much. Also, big thanks to all you guys who sent in the super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget, in about 3 hours from now, we're going to be doing our Lanterns open spoiler discussion here on the channel. Me and Robert Meyer Burnett are going to be talking about last night's episode of Lanterns. Hope you guys will come along and join us as well. All right, guys, that'll do it for us for now. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. It is such an honor that you guys do. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.